Oh, look at that. It says we are live. Let me check audio here real quick. Oh, we got a few people waiting to jump in on this tonight. And it's right at 7:30. So I guess, let me try this real quick and see. Sometimes this gives me a little feedback. Okay. Come on. Connect. Perfect. Okay, we got good audio. So let's jump into it. Welcome, hello everybody, and welcome to the second Wapiti Wednesday live Q&A for 2022. If you're new joining us, welcome. Glad to have you. A couple of tips to help you if you are joining in on the computer. You will see that it opens up into a YouTube studio or YouTube, and you will be able to chat. You can put in comments, questions, anything as we're rolling along, and I'll see them pop up immediately as we're going. If you're joining from your phone or a tablet, it will basically be the balloon down underneath. You click on that, it'll take you to another screen. You can comment, and then as soon as you're done, it'll bring it right back in. So let's see, Larry Gill, looking forward to some great calling tips. Quality and volume are awesome. So, all right. So Larry, appreciate that. Yeah, so tonight I kind of played with the settings on the camera a little bit, learning a little bit more and more about this software. So played with some of the settings on the camera, just kind of playing around a little bit to see, how it works. Also, kind of changed a couple of the settings from the audio. I noticed going back and listening to some of the ones in the past, there's been kind of this weird echo, or it just sounded kind of funky. So adjusted all those. Also would love to hear from you guys. This morning I emailed everybody out in the herd here about this. Let me know what you think about that email, if that makes it easier to kind of remind you. The other thing that I did too in that email that I sent out this morning, made it simple. Join discussion. Right underneath that, you can go to that email, you can click on that, that'll open up the YouTube video, bring you right in, just trying to make it easier, just another way to get the info out to all of you guys. And because I know some of you said you haven't gotten notifications, so if you haven't seen any of the emails, I've sent a couple of them out to you guys. Maybe go into your junk folder, see if they're there. If they are, put Out Calling Academy in your safe list, and so that way any of the emails that send out will get to you guys. So, all right, so here we go. Tonight's discussion is going to be on hunting partners. So I actually recorded a podcast with a guy over at Western Contours a couple of weeks ago, and we kind of got on the topic of hunting partners a little bit, but I want to dive deeper into it with you guys, and we're going to kind of talk through the advantages of hunting partners, the disadvantages of hunting partners, and how you can develop hunting partners and relationships, and get those bonds and all that stuff. So email worked well for me. Thanks, Larry. Appreciate the feedback. Thank you. So, all right, hunting partners are one of those things that can be actually a very, very valuable tool when you're hunting elk. Hunting elk solo is really, really tough. I mean, it is hard. I did it for several years. I still enjoy some solo time. But there's just something about a hunting partner that kind of, tilts the odds, need a little more in your favor. So, and we'll get into kind of, some of those advantages, but it is one of those things, though, that not every two people are a good match to be elk hunting partners. It definitely takes, there's a lot of keys that you need to match up. Personality. So, if one of you is real light and airy and the other one is just gung-ho focused all the time, you guys are going to kind of clash. So if you can find somebody that has kind of the same personality that you have, the same goals in elk hunting that you have, the same drive that you have, it just makes things so much nicer. Your time in the mountains is actually going to be a lot more enjoyable. And you'll find that your success actually goes up a little bit higher. Joel here finally. Welcome, Joel. The one guy I hunted with a couple of years ago seemed very impatient, would not wake up in the mornings to get up and go. That's one of the things there, that I was kind of talking about is the difference in drive, the difference in determination and patience. Oh, patience is a huge, huge thing. Especially if one of you just wants to cover ground and let's see how many miles we can get in a day and how much country we can cover. And another of you, the other one is a little more laid back, slower. I kind of want to work areas more. You guys are going to battle. And now it's not necessarily a deal breaker, as long as you're both willing to compromise and work with each other and try different things and understand that there's not just one way. I mean, we do a mixture when we're going. There's times we're really patient, work areas, and there's other times it's cover ground, and sometimes we're aggressive, and sometimes we're a little more laid back, and it really depends on reading the situations. So Joel, love the email as well. It definitely helped remind me. Good. So okay, so pretty much every Wednesday that we are, every other Wednesday when we're doing this, I will definitely send those emails out. So Jim got the email too. Perfect. Good. Appreciate it, guys. So the way you can develop these relationships, and sometimes it's really hard to find people, and you can sit down and you can talk and you can have the right fit when you're talking. But the one thing I encourage a lot of people to do is go spend time in the mountains. Go on a spring hunt, go on an early camping trip, go on a hike. That's really going to tell you how each of you get along. Are you both prepared? Is one not prepared? In camp, are both of you pitching in and contributing, or is one doing more than the other? These are all things that, you go on these hikes, or you go on these camping trips or fishing trips or spring hunts that are going to come out. I mean, you're going to see them. And then it's one of those things where, okay, can we talk about this? Can we work it out? Can we, come to some sort of resolution, some happy medium? And that's just how it just starts, is just talking and working through these things. Now, the advantages of hunting with a partner are many. When it comes to camp and gear and equipment, for that camp, if you're solo, it's all on you. If you forgot to pack something or this or that, you don't have anybody that you can borrow it from. But with a partner, you can pool resources, and pooling resources is something that's just invaluable, that you can work together to create, a really nice, comfortable camp with each other. You also have that person there to kind of kick you out of bed and get you going, because, man, you've been grinding for a couple of days and just, your excitement level is really down, and you have that other person that can lift you back up, that can push you. But also too, when you're out there on the mountainside, you have each other to pull strength from. And obviously, you get something down on the ground. Now the workload is, divided by two people. And it's definitely, helps to have somebody hold the leg and help with the pack out. The other nice thing, another advantage about a hunting partner is being able to bounce ideas off of and talk about strategies. What do you want to do? Again, this is important where you're both on the same level as far as preparedness, physically, calling wise. You both are investing into knowledge and expanding that knowledge base. And it's not just one-sided. Now, you can, if you're experienced, you can bring somebody in that is, less experienced and teach them, show them, grow. And that's actually the situation, that I'm at with my hunting partners. When I met Bryce, he and the guy that he had been hunting with, they had been hunting 3, 4, 5 years and had never seen an elk, had never even really heard a bugle. And the first time that took them out, that first morning, I think we got into 6 or 7 bulls that were bugling, and it was just, it was awesome. And so we were able to grow. And don't expect everything to fall right into pieces right off the very, very get-go. It could, because it takes time to build that relationship. It takes time to really learn somebody and know how each other ticks and how you're going to get along on the mountainside, and how you're going to handle diversity, how you're going to handle success. I've had people in my camp that showed up and contributed and did great, and as soon as they got their animal on the ground, it was, hey, you know what, something's come up, I got to head home. And they left camp. They never came back again, because they've never had that mentality. It's always been, we're all a group, we're all working towards helping each other, and we're all in it together. One of the huge advantages of a hunting partner is the 2-on-1 calling scenario. Being able to stick a shooter out front and pull that bull by the shooter for a shot. But again, it's got to be a two-way street. It can't be where one of you is just really, really strong in calling and the other's like, why do I need to learn? I got you. That's kind of that me mentality. So, one of the things that I mentioned on the podcast was in our camp, the first thing we do is, we talk about who's going to be shooter and who's going to be the caller. In most days, it's more of a discussion on who's going to be the caller. It's not it's not jumping up to be the shooter. It's because we all have so much fun calling elk for each other that we want to do that for each other. We want to give that to each other. And if you can find it too, where you can get a couple added in with you, 2 people added in with you, so there's 3 of you, man, that just elevates it even more. Because the nice thing is with partners is on quiet days you can call back and forth and you can create a lot of excitement, and that excitement does boil over. That excitement does get elk that are around you to get talking. They pick up on that and they feed on that excitement. And you can do it solo, but when you have 1 or 2 other people there with you and you're spread out a little bit, it adds so much more realism and so much more excitement to what you're doing. And I know it's hard enough for a lot of people just to find one hunting partner, let alone two. But if you find that, work together to develop and harness that relationship. Bryce and his son Brandon, it's extremely blessed, and I mean the three of us can get an elk out in one trip. Not too much trouble at all. But it's nice too, because while two of you are cutting, breaking things down, one's there with the bag, and you rotate out to kind of save your back or save your knees, and I mean it's a lot of work to break those critters down. But also too, that just the camaraderie with it. And it's a lot easier too that if you're high up on the mountain and it's last sliver of light of the day, and you're into some pretty vocal elk, excuse me guys, and you're thinking about how long of a hike it is to get back to camp, man, it's a lot easier if there's one or two other people there with you to go, you know what, let's just stay on the mountainside tonight. Let's just stay up here. We'll be right on them, first thing in the morning, and it helps with a lot of those decisions and make them easier. Now, mind you, you got to make sure that you all are prepared to be able to stay on the mountain. Jay Colley, you're good, brother. Joel just applied for New Mexico tonight, but have rifle tag for Idaho, but would prefer an archery tag, though they sold out before I was able to get one. Good luck on your draw in New Mexico. Would love to find someone who can find someone who has the same drive, that is for sure. It definitely makes it a lot of fun. And the other thing that I like about good hunting partners is it's reality checks, or it's snap you back into it and remind you of why you're out there. Talked about a little bit ago, you've been out there for a couple of days, you're just getting kicked in the teeth, and man, it's a tough grind. And you start feeling the pressure on you and all this stuff, and having that hunting partner to remind you of the journey, to pause and watch the sun crack over the horizon in the east, and watch that sliver of daylight start, and appreciate that, and just kind of bring you back into the mental aspect of it, because the mental aspect of elk hunting is one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot, but is important and tough, and one of the things that a lot of people struggle with, even groups struggle with it, just because they don't have that relationship that they can lean on each other, or snap somebody back in if they're getting a little too focused, or we kind of joke sometimes that it's like a Snickers commercial. It's like, here, eat a Snickers. Why? Because you're not yourself when you're hungry. Well, in this case, it's snapping you back, and here, do this. Why? Because you're not yourself when you're so focused on notching a tag. And it's amazing how everything just changes at that moment when it snaps back. So, Jay, I've got one, but she doesn't call. Wish she would. So, it's one of those things too, Jay, when you're hunting with your girlfriend or your wife, the fact that they're out there with you, and it's one of those things where you can, encourage her. And I know you and I have talked about this and have worked with you guys a little bit. She was making good sounds. I think with her is maybe she's a little timid. And that's where, really good positive reinforcements and joking about it and having fun. So don't give up, but don't push too hard. Liz actually just started the journey of calling. And in fact, Jay Phelps now has a mini reed that I think will fit her mouth really, really well, because it fits. In fact, I tried regular amps with Liz. Didn't do very well. I couldn't get a good seal, but as soon as I got those new narrow frames for her, man, she was making sounds with just in a couple of minutes. So Jay, get her a couple of those minis. They have a light, medium, and a heavy latex. Get her the light and medium to get started. So, Delt, love the hoodie. Where can I pick one up? I actually ordered this. I would have to go back and see what the company, I don't even remember what the company name now is. I actually have the original Elk Calling Academy logo on the back. I know it was Joel. It was a struggle when I first ordered it. Order kept getting screwed up and all that, but I will go back and see who I ordered it from, see if I can find that and get that info out to you guys. So, Jay, I wouldn't change that for the world. She is the best. She helps me a lot. No, and that's awesome when you can, have that. I know, Liz and I did a few hunts this fall, and we just had a blast out there together. So, all right. So we've talked about the goods of hunting partners. Now let's kind of talk about some of the bads. I touched on one earlier with the individual that as soon as, got his bull on the ground, he left. You can have those hunting partners that, it's all about me. So they don't share any of the meat. They don't really contribute much in camp. A lot of times they're not willing to get behind you to call or take their turn. The other thing too is they always want to do things their way. And it doesn't matter, whether they've had success or not. There's some that, they've been hunting for several years, no success, but this is the way I was taught. This is the way we're going to do it, and so be it. And very, very set in the ways, very, very stubborn, and that can be a huge downfall, because then that interferes and affects with your enjoyment of the hunt and can be extremely, extremely frustrating. The other one too, it's that guy that just has, or that person, I'm just going to say person, that doesn't have any motivation, that, isn't excited to get up 2-3 hours before the sun rises to get ready and get to where you need to be. Or, you get a bugle and they're like, I'm not going all the way over there. Or if you're on a ridge and the bugle's down on the bottom, and no, I'm not going down in there. Let's just go try to find an elk that's in an easier spot. And again, one of the things that I'm blessed with, that Bryce and I, there's a lot of times that we'd hear a bugle down on the bottom of the canyon, and our approach on it always was, let's get down, get him down on the ground. We'll figure out how to get him out later. And by doing that, it actually put us into some pretty gnarly pack outs. But had we not gone down there, who knows if would have gotten it done. Sometimes you just have to do that. And just, yeah. The person that's never prepared, doesn't bring enough food, and always getting into your snacks and your food, and again, it's all about them. So you get the right camp and the right people, I can guarantee each of you will bring enough food for everybody. You will have an abundance of food. I'll grab them at the Hunt Expo. Okay. Delta Outdoors, where are you from? Joel, Jay Cawley is asking, where are you from? So I don't know if you can see that in the chats or in the comments. So, other other cons of hunting partners, the guy that doesn't want to share anything. Like I said, maybe you forgot some seasoning salt, and hey, can I, you got any seasoning salt? Yeah, can I borrow some? Where's yours? I forgot it. Sucks to be you. So these are all things that take away from your experience. That's really the benefit of a hunting partner, is each of you working together to increase and raise that level of enjoyment. I've seen people in camps that if somebody's successful and they harvest, they're upset about it. They're mad about that individual being successful. They're not celebrating with the other individual. I don't know, some of this stuff. Now, mind you, a lot of these things I'm talking about are things that I've experienced over all the years. So, Joel said he's from Utah, in Utah County. So, all right. I just keep jumping into the app on the phone to see if anybody on the phone or an iPad are commenting in. So, what questions do you guys have about hunting partners? See if there's anything that I might not have talked about that you've got a question about. So, and it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody from your same town. I mean, they can be close by, and you guys mutually find a place to hunt. Now that's another nice one advantage that I didn't talk about with hunting partners is when you do go to scout a new hunting area, you guys can actually split up and cover more territory and then come back and compare notes. Hey, what did you see? This is what I saw. And then together you can say, okay, we need to go check that out together. Or didn't sound like there was much over there. It doesn't sound like a place that, we might want to go back to. So it splits the efforts, basically. You can accomplish a lot more. And Jay, it's really hard to find good hunting partners. It is. And the reason it's so hard, especially today, is because there's so many people that have that me mentality. They're takers. They're not givers. And unfortunately, that's really, really prominent in today's society. Heck, Bryce and I mean, we're going on close to 15 years of hunting together. It takes time, and it's just like any relationship you get into. It takes time to kind of mold into each other and get comfortable with each other. It might be a little awkward at first, and you're kind of a little timid. But once you've got to work on it, and once you get there, you get to the point where you guys just share the approach and share the excitement and share all of that. And you don't have to have big, long, drawn-out conversations on the mountainside about what you're going to do, because you understand each other. You understand how each other's mind works, and it just a look is all it takes. So the two I've had told me I call too much, or they don't like the blind calling or breeding calling, but we have had help come in. And that's just a different approach. That's why you need to have that conversation early on about hunting styles and calling and approaches. And but again, that's where that give and take. Maybe their calling style is just a little bit different than yours. If you like to focus more on bull sounds and they like to focus more on cow sounds, it's a give and take, or do a blend of the two. But have those conversations and have those compromises with each other, and that's the only way that it's going to work. And we can, as individuals, get very, very set in our ways, and it's very, very hard to change. But if you have that open mind and willingness to view things from another person's point of view, you'll be amazed at what that does with your point of view, and how you kind of start to see things a little bit differently. And it's not necessarily that you're switching solely over to their point of view or their style. It's almost like you two kind of start blending together and you form your own styles. So the 1 year I hunted with the hunting partner I didn't want to wait for the breeding sequence to try and bring the one bull we had coming in. The bull would only growl, though. And that is tough. And again, that goes to something we talked about, early on, was patience. Some people just don't have the patience to really sit there and really work a bull. They want it to happen now. They want it to happen so quick and so immediately that they don't give it that patience. Now, mind you, a lot of what was seen online for the longest time was, man, you just go out, you bugle a couple of times, and a bull comes running in. That's all they saw in the videos. Nobody really told the whole entire story of the hardships, which, now you're starting to see a lot of video series that show that show the hardships, that show where nothing happened, that show, we sat there and we worked this bull for a while and he just didn't come. So many people early on saw those videos and a lot of those videos were being shot on private ranches to where bulls weren't being really called to that much, and they didn't really have the human interaction. So, they just came running in really quick. But again, in those videos, they're seeing, they could watch a 30-minute. Sorry guys, my eyes are burning for some reason. They could watch a 30-minute hunting show, and they could see 3 or 4, 5 call-ins in that 30-minute show. But it looks like they're setting up and they're not there that long, and then the bull's coming in. And I think that's where this impatience comes in, because they expect that's real life. They don't understand that for that 30-minute show, that was 3 days worth of filming. They don't understand that, from the time they made the first sound and got set up and started working that bull, that it was an hour and 20 minutes. So, obviously for a 30-minute TV show, they can't do that. They got to keep the excitement. They got to have all this stuff rolling on. So, agree 100% on the aspects of hunting partners. You find a good fit and stay with it and build it. Absolutely. It's not something to be, taken lightly, and it's not one of those things where, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. So, Daniel, in a group of 4, how would you set the group up? 3 shooters, 1 caller, multiple callers. So, Daniel, if all 4 of you are going out together, I mean, what we've done a lot when there's 4 of us, we'll split up in pairs. So, 2 and 2, that seems to kind of be a good mix, just the, caller shooter scenario. But if the 4 of you are going out, I would set up 2 shooters, 2 callers. And it all depends on whether you're doing a blind calling routine or if you have a bull that is vocal. If there's a bull that's vocal, and bull that vocal, we usually set 1 shooter that direction and the other shooter is kind of protecting the back door. Because guys, I can't stress it enough. That backdoor bull happens a lot. And a good majority of the time, that backdoor bull doesn't really say much at all, if anything. Most of the time, he comes in extremely silent. In fact, I remember one time I was hunting in Colorado and was up on a ridge and calling down into there was a little creek down the bottom and then a meadow and then a bunch of trees, and had multiple bulls down there bugling, and I was so focused on that. I mean, I would look to the right and look to the left a little bit, and I mean, just the excitement was just elevating down there. I mean, it was a perfect day in the elk woods. And this was the second setup for the day. The first setup actually had 6 bulls going on that one, and we ended up, putting one of them on the ground, broke him down, so 2 people stayed there to walk out to the trailhead to get the horses and pack that one, while the three of us went over to this other spot. And I remember there I was calling, and I was so focused on what was going that I turned behind me to bugle, and about 80 yards behind me was about a 360 6x6 in an aspen thicket. And I mean, he was a stud. He was probably the big bull on that knob, but he never said a word. But he was probably up there listening to all this excitement of what was going on, that he decided to get up and just slip down quietly without even saying a word. And I don't know how long he had been standing there watching everything. And even when I turned to bugle and stopped and we kind of made eye contact with each other, he just slowly turned around and went right back up to the top of the knob, where probably he was bedded down to where he could hear everything. Now, had I had a shooter on that back door, this bull probably would have walked right into his lap. So with 4 of you, 2 shooters, 2 callers, because the 2 shooters, the 2 callers can do the breeding sequence. And the important thing was, with the callers, you need to designate who's going to be the bull and who's going to be the cow. Now, the person that's going to be the cow, once you get to that point in the breeding sequence where you want to interject a second bull, like a bull slipped in from the side or something, the person doing the cow call can do that, can also slip in, do that little bull vocalizations, but the person that is designated as the bull is the one that's primarily doing the bugling. So, Jim, guess I'm lucky to hunt with my wife. Works great most of the time. We go out on our own sometimes, not a lot. Also, 2 other guys go with us, and it's a natural fit. We get along like family. That's the thing right there. Get along like family. And that is extremely hard to find. You also you'll also have these hunting groups where it's like, okay, I only want to talk to you 30 days before season, and as soon as season's done, I'm gonna go back into my little hidden hole, and there's not a lot of communication throughout the year. Having that family atmosphere that was just mentioned is great. Get-togethers throughout the year, go on camping trips, go on fishing trips, go on things together. It just builds that bond even more. So that happened to a guy I met up in Idaho. He was from California last year. He had a 5x5 about 5 yards behind him when he was focused on the herd bull. He said he heard a twig snap. Yeah, I don't know how many times that backdoor bull has slipped in and just basically caught us with our pants down. And it happens a lot. So now, to kind of expand or go back to Daniel. So Daniel, if you guys are doing a blind calling scenario where you don't know where the elk are coming from, you want the shooters in between, or you want the callers in between the shooters. So right in the middle. But you also have that ability that if something does start answering, the callers can then adjust what they need to do around that shooter. And this is where that it's all about the team, it's all about the group is beneficial, because if you're in the middle and you got a guy to the person to the left and a person to the right, and a bull answers to the right, and then you as the caller start positioning yourself to draw that bull into the shooter on the right. If this person on the left has the me mentality, you can bet your butt that he's going to try to slip over here and sneak the shot out from underneath this person over here. I've seen it happen. It really, really creates some hardships. Or vice versa, if you're there on the next to each other, and there's multiple elk and there's a cow coming down, but there's a bull that is behind bugling. Maybe one person has a shot on that cow, and the other person that's so focused on the bull and just says, don't shoot that cow, the bull's going to come, don't shoot. And then something happens and it blows up, and now all of a sudden this person that was going to shoot the cow, because maybe they had never taken an elk before, or maybe they just want some meat for the freezer, that person that told them don't shoot, just took meat out of that person's freezer. And then again, that can produce harsh feelings and frustration. So Daniel, right on, thank you. You bet. So all right, guys, so that's kind of pretty much what I wanted to cover on hunting partners. Hopefully kind of, dove a little deeper into it. The best way to start, though, is just conversations and ask those questions, about styles and preparedness. What do you do to get ready for the season? And it's going to be one of those things where if you're the type of person that works out 3-4 times a week and shoots your bow every night, and you're talking to somebody and they're like, I kind of pull my bow out about a month before season and start shooting. Again, you want to have those discussions as early as possible as you can, so that you're not going into season and finding these things out during season. So, if you have a chance, talk about Utah's and Arizona's recent ban on the use of game cameras for the purpose of taking or aiding in the take of wildlife. They may be the first of the dominoes known to fall. Okay, I'll talk about that right now. And you might be surprised by my answer. I'm not that upset about it. Good majority of my 30 plus years of elk hunting and being successful of it, I have not used trail cameras. I have actually spent time out in the elk woods, covering ground, getting to know where they are, how they move, how they live, their travel corridors, their patterns, being out there on elevated areas glassing. So I mean, trail cameras are nice. They're a help to let you know what's in the area. But most of the time, what you're seeing on the camera during summer is not necessarily what's going to be there during September. And the reason let's just say I had a spot of mine ruined because of a trail camera. I shared a picture of a bull that I had on trail camera a few years back. Had never seen anybody in this area. Had never seen anybody in that draw. And then as I was sharing pictures, all of a sudden, more trail cameras showed up in there. Then during hunting season, there was 3 other groups that were trying to go in there. Also, the fight over trail cameras and people stealing them, people taking the memory cards out of them, all this stuff. I still use trail cameras, but I'm not a diehard with it. If it got taken away, it's okay. It's an advancement in technology. There's plenty of things that you can do to replace the use of a trail camera and still be successful. And I'm sure what I'm saying may not sit well with some of you or some people out there. I don't view it as an attack on my right to hunt. I don't view it as an infringement on that right. I mean, it's an aid. It's a tool. Now, some of the other stuff that's going on with trying to ban bear hunts or mountain lion hunts or that kind of stuff, that I have a problem with, because that is an attack on my right. But trail cameras, it really doesn't bother me that much. So I'm still going to be, even when I do put trail cameras out, I'm still out there during the summer glassing and learning and hiking. So okay, I agree with your opinion. I thought it would be good to hear about hunting without them. Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I mean, I started chasing elk in 1988, and even when trail cameras came out, and honestly, I was actually on staff with Spy Point trail cameras for a few years, and even though I was on staff with them, I still didn't use them a ton. So Delta Outdoors, I'm upset about it because I enjoy just getting pictures, even if I don't hunt those areas, but will adjust. I have noticed with my cameras, where bulls will travel through, I picked up bulls. Yeah, no, and I agree. It is cool to see the pictures, and that is one thing that I do enjoy about it is the excitement of what's going to be on the card. What am I going to see, and seeing elk, seeing does with newborn fawns, seeing bears. I mean, seeing all that. Okay, I picked up bulls in the summer grounds, and then they end up in the grounds where I've had cameras where the cows are at. Yeah, and it is cool to see that. And the reason I'm not upset about it is because you can be just as successful without the use of trail cameras. Does it take more effort? Yeah, it does. So, I mean, it is nice knowing what's in the area. And, you guys have heard me talk in the past about, using trail cameras to establish travel corridors, time of day, whether it's a morning travel corridor or an evening travel corridor. You can still do those things by glassing. So when you're out in the summertime glassing, always keep the sun at your back. Always glass so that you're glassing away from the sun. So when I'm in the morning, I'm sitting glassing west. So that way the sun doesn't blow out. In the evening time, I'm glassing east. Again, so the sun's at the back. The other thing you're going to find when you do it that way is the way the sun bounces off the elk's hide and actually glows them up a little bit on the mountainside and are easier to spot. So I am more interested in using the cameras to watch over an elk carcass afterwards. Have done that before too, just to see, what's coming in. Bears, mountain lions, wolves, whatever's coming in. So, anyways, okay. So, that's my little 2 cents input. Okay. So, any other questions, any comments? We're going to go ahead and start wrapping things up. I want to thank you to all of you that have been, reaching out. I know the last Q&A that we did last year kind of threw some things out there about thoughts, ideas for this year. Some of you guys have given some great input. In fact, one of the things that was come up that I'm working on is I was asked to bring Chris Rowe on as a guest. So starting that process to see if we can make that happen and connect. I would love to have Chris. I'm a huge fan of Chris. Chris is a biologist and just a wealth of knowledge if you want to truly learn about elk behavior and why they do what they do. So, Jay, thoughts on grizzlies? Jay, I've hunted a few places that are grizzly country. It is one of those elements that you definitely need to have in your mind. Definitely really be aware of your surroundings. It adds a new dimension to it. We were successful when we hunted that area. And in fact, Jay, part of that country that we hunted is over in your area. So it definitely added. It heightened the awareness, the senses. So also, could you bring on Joe Gillia? Yeah, actually, Joe and I have already talked about it. So we're just trying to coordinate our schedules to get Joe on. In fact, Joe and I have talked about it a few times. I've been a guest of his on the Elk Bros, and definitely would love to have Joe on. So that is one of the other individuals that's on my list for sure. So, all right, guys, let's wrap this up. I guess I better. God, you know what, Larry? I don't even have. You know what? Okay. It's not going to be a calling tip, Mr. Larry, about sounds, but more so it is going to be about diaphragm reed care. How to make your diaphragm reeds last a little bit longer. How about that? So, okay, the reason diaphragm reeds wear out is basically the acids in our saliva start breaking down the latex. So, there's things that you can do to extend the life of the diaphragm reed. Now, mind you, there's a lot of factors that go into how long a diaphragm reed is going to last. How much of an aggressive caller are you? Do you use a light stretch latex and you're a heavy tongue type caller? You're going to wear that reed out faster. Also, how much the acidic level in our saliva is different for all of us. Also, chewing tobacco. If you chew, don't chew. I mean, there's all these variables. But there are things that you can do. First off, diaphragm reeds don't like sunlight and heat. So keeping them in your truck is not a good place to do. I know a lot of people, their practice time is in the vehicle when they're driving to work or back home. Take a squeeze pouch. Bendable Products makes them. Phelps, Rocky Mountain Outdoors, pretty much everybody has them. Get a squeeze pouch. When you're done practicing, pop your reeds into that pouch. Take them into the building with you. If you have a desk or an office or a briefcase or whatever, just pop them in. But don't leave them in your vehicle during the summer, you will wear them out. Don't get done using them, take it out and throw them up on the dash of your truck so they're sitting there like that. That's going to wear them out. If you're at home, rinse them off with cool water. Get that acids off there. Get that saliva off of there. And again, keep them in a cool, dark spot. The butter dish in your refrigerator is a great place to keep reeds. So when you're done practicing, rinse them off with cool water. Do not throw them in a Ziploc bag or this or that while they're wet and throw them in there. Rinse them off, lay them upside down like this on a towel, and let them dry off completely before you put them in a Ziploc bag and put them in the butter dish. If you have a place in your house like an office or something like that you keep hunting gear in, you can keep your reeds in there. Just keep them out of direct sunlight. Those are all things that are just going to wear that reed down. So, all right. So there is your calling tip for tonight, Mr. Larry. It's how to increase the longevity of that diaphragm reed. Okay, you get a pass since you were teaching how to preserve our reeds. LOL. Perfect. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap this up tonight. Thank you so much for all of you tonight. Thank you for your interaction. Makes it a lot more fun. Also, for those of you that may have jumped on late, I did send emails out to everybody in this group. It only went to you guys that are part of the herd here. That email kind of let you know about the Wapiti live Q&A tonight. Like I said, put that link. I'm going to keep doing that every other Wednesday, the days that we're doing the Wapiti Wednesdays, so expect to see that email. Also, if you haven't seen the emails, go into your junk folder, look for them, and just make sure that Elk Calling Academy is in your approved list, or say, yep, I want to, this is okay to, put these in the trust. And because I will also be sending a few more emails out as we kind of go along through this year, just kind of sharing some articles and sharing some more information with you guys. So, all right. And let's see. Thank you, Michael. Great evening. Great partner talk. Appreciate that, guys. So, as always, keep calling, keep practicing. More importantly, though, have fun. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks on the next Wapiti Live Q&A. Have a great one, everybody.